ready to join the rebellion. The Death Star is coming to Walt Disney World. For Theme Park Rangers, I'm Dwayne Bevel. Okay, it's not the actual Death Star, but it's a pretty good representation. Disney is going to digitally transform Epcot's Spaceship Earth into the Death Star at a special event after hours on Monday, December 5th. After all, they're kind of the same shape. Disney says the big transformation is to celebrate the upcoming movie, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Part of the special event will be making announcements about current and future Star Wars elements of Disney's Hollywood studios. The change is not without precedent. 3 years ago, they changed Spaceship Earth into a big, giant, one-eyed monster, Mike Wazowski of Monsters, Inc., for another special announcement. Now the bad news. If you weren't quick on the draw to sign up for this special event, it's full. No more people can go and see it in person. However, you can watch it live Monday night on the Disney Parks blog. For more theme park news, go to orlandosentinel.com. And as always, may the Force be with you.
All right, so everybody, thanks so much for listening. If you are listening to us on one of the podcast sites, please subscribe and share this interview. If you're listening to us on the radio, we thank you for listening. And please definitely tell your family and friends so we can get this out to as many people as possible as far as the show goes. We have Dwayne Bevel on. He is a tourism reporter with the Orlando Sentinel, and we love the Orlando Sentinel. They're doing amazing things. And he also does a podcast, which is called Theme Park Rangers Podcast. And he does that with Katie Rice also, who is a tourism reporter from the Orlando Sentinel. But we're grateful to have Dwayne on. So Dwayne, thanks so much. And we're excited to hear about some theme parks.
I know some things.
That's fair enough. We'll kick it around here. We'll go into this. So for the people that are just hearing about this, what should they expect from listening to the podcast?
Well, I would say as a newspaper, what we are proud of is, fact-based reporting or factual reporting. So we don't really get into the rumor mill too much. We want it to be, this is how they say it's going to be.
Sure.
Have we drifted into what we read on Twitter? Yes. But usually we say, we don't know, but Twitter seems to think it's this fall, and for no apparent reason. A lot of times Twitter is, my girlfriend works at Universal and her boss said, it's like 13th hand. And yes. Honestly, sometimes it's correct. We've been waiting on this Universal escape room for years now, and it finally surfaced this week. And still, despite them making it official, we have a lot of questions. So, I think all the questions we have at this point, there aren't answers to always. Like, what's it going to cost? Well, maybe they're still thinking about it. I'm sure there's a target on it. When's it going to open? I'm sure there's a target. On social, they said fall. On the press release, they said later. And it's like, well, fall is later than now, but I'm going to go with fall until we consider the official social media accounts as truth. Because Disney has started announcing things on TikTok, for Pete's sake. So there's a lot of different places that this information comes from officially even now. And then multiply that times every park and attraction in town, and it's a lot of screens and fingers and hope for the best. And it's like, did you mean to say that? Because that's just that.
I know you've done some podcasts about Epcot, and Epcot is the big thing right now at Disney, I would say, because they added obviously 2 new attractions in the past, I would say 6 or 7 months, with Guardians of the Galaxy, with the roller coaster, and also Ratatouille. And we can talk about that in just a second. And obviously there's some more added attractions that are supposed to be happening. I was told that have been set back because of the pandemic. So can you kind of do all in one, and we'll talk as far as a question, let's do an all in one question of talking about Ratatouille at Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy, and just basically what's going on there as far as new attractions and also the Flower and Garden that's going on.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot.
There's a lot to talk about at Epcot right now. Yeah, it's this is kind of old school with Guardians of the Galaxy, and let's rewind. So when they announced a lot of this Epcot stuff, I want to say 2017, which was too early to say when it was going to open. But they did the very vague, even that night when they announced it, it's like, all right, it's gonna be in time for Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary, which of course was October 1st, 2021. So a casual person might read that and say, oh, so by October 1st, 2021, that will be ready. Well, we knew the celebration was going to last a while.
Yeah.
It's going to be 18 months. I always thought that was very broad, and honestly, there's a lot of moving parts to this. They're not going to. I thought that was an acceptable way of saying we're not exactly sure, but 2021, 22, somewhere, and that was without knowing pandemic.
Yes.
So I don't want to give them a pass on this, but they did do. I mean, this is their pattern. It's like, oh, now it's 2021. This is opening in 22. Oh, summer of 22. Oh, then the date, and usually at the end of each interview, I'll say, and it's going to open when, and they'll say, oh, it's like, well, gotta ask. It's another thing they can't talk about, but that can only backfire on you if you give a date that, we're still talking about. What was it? Was it Test Track that didn't open forever? So yeah. And now there's even more speculation. So anyway, we're kind of back to old school summer, and that things were in place for Memorial Day, with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. And personally, I like everything in place. Let it slide through the summer, and everyone gets a shot at it this way. So I'm going to say most people think Cosmic Rewind was worth waiting for, and now it's going to be here the rest of our lives, or 20 years or so. It kind of happened, I'm going to say in quarantine, but that's not exactly right. But because it's an indoor coaster, we didn't really watch the progress, It was a big box. One day it was blue. One day you could see the panels on the front of it. And these are like the 3 stages, as opposed to, say, Tron at Magic Kingdom, where anything that changes over there is breathlessly reported. Or no, it's like, oh, look, there's a beam on the top. It's like, okay. When's it open? So Ratatouille, they held on to that. I think it was ready months before it opened. And I don't really understand that. It did give them something to say, ta-da, on October 1st. People were happy. People were lined up for it. It's an all ages thing. You and Nana can ride together. So I think it has a purpose. It's big screens, which some people are upset about, but that's where we are.
Yeah,
there's screens in a Cosmic Rewind, but that might be a really good use of both. But
well, we talk about screens. You go to Universal Studios or Orlando, you'll see screens in every attraction there, basically, besides like E.T.
Velocicoaster.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, screens have their place. You can see a bunch of them there.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, I love me some screens in Spider-Man. It's my weakness. So see, Epcot, they're still working on that middle part. And you can see it. It does not look imminent from the monorail. It's like, oh, they're still kind of moving dirt around in there. So I think eventually Epcot will be gorgeous. I think the gardens and that entryway, it's going to be years in the making, clearly.
But it seems like, and sorry to interrupt you, Dwayne, it seems like they're bringing back a lot of the old Epcot merchandise. Even the maps are like old Epcot from the 80s. Are you seeing that also?
Yeah, it sort of is a running architectural theme, and with the logos. And it's funny that little things like that make people very happy. There's a set of kids, and now they're grown men and women.
Right.
They're the children of Epcot. It opened when they were little, and I'm fascinated by them because, when Epcot opened, it was not for children.
Right.
I mean, it was like shopping and eating, and there is actually more for kids to do now. You can see characters now. Now it makes more sense to me. But yeah, I mean, those people are very sentimental. A lot of these are children of people who moved here to work at Magic Kingdom or their college program and never left, so they're actually Orlando natives. So people my age are not Orlando natives here, but so Epcot is a sentimental place in a way that's different from Magic Kingdom.
So Dwayne, let's just kick this around. So there is not a lot of talk about SeaWorld. I believe from reading your paper, the Orlando Sentinel, it seems like SeaWorld has recovered from the Blackfish documentary. And they are, really getting, especially I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, with the international visitors, they're really going to SeaWorld. And throughout the pandemic, since I believe SeaWorld opened up capacity more quickly than Disney and Universal did, a lot of people did come to SeaWorld. And with their new coasters that have opened up and are opening up in general, do you believe SeaWorld has recovered from the pandemic they had with, losing so many people because of that Blackfish documentary?
So I do think you've been reading our paper, and God bless you. You may have seen a recent column by our Metro columnist. He does general topics 3 times a week, Scott Maxwell.
Right.
And he wrote a very similar column last week, recently, that said SeaWorld, there's been happy news about SeaWorld, which is a change from the Blackfish era. And, there's more emphasis on rides, which they said they were going to do, and less emphasis on big marine animals,
Right.
Still marine animals. And they've tweaked some of their shows, like the Dolphin Show, the Sea and Otter, to be a little more educational, less of a show with a story. And that's not entirely gone.
Right.
SeaWorld is trying new things, aside from a new coaster. I like, they're the only park in town right now that's doing Scary Halloween and Kiddie Halloween at the same time, which is not easy, but there it is. And it's a weird mixed messaging thing. They have to go, they're going back for another Howl-O-Scream this year. I think things are better. They have the same challenges. It's funny about SeaWorld and Universal, they've been doing basically Lightning Lane for years, and no one is mad about it.
Right.
Universal, I mean, they used to stand behind Universal Express behind the counter. It's a grid. The pricing for it is so complicated. Are you doing both parks? Are you doing it over and over again? It's this thing, and it changes every day. It's a mystery. I would be a ballpark. I know sometimes the Express is more than your park ticket, depending on the day. So, okay, what's it worth to you? But anyway, so things do happen at SeaWorld that, and they have a quick queue that they do. But I find it's, lines usually aren't too long at SeaWorld, and They're pricing tickets well. You can get a fun card that gets you through most of the year. And I think it's really great for families. They stroll in, kids love animals, looking at the stingrays, you know? And now, you know, they have more thrill rides. They have a lot of events. They're almost Epcot over there. There's so many festivals that just last forever. They have festivals with inside the festival. You know, there's like this craft beer thing that's happening inside the Electric Ocean thing this summer.
Right.
And so, okay. You know, I think if you were unhappy with SeaWorld's policies 5 years ago, you probably are still not that happy.
Sure.
But they have made movement.
Again, for people that are listening, this was Dwayne Bevel. He is a tourism reporter at the Orlando Sentinel. Definitely check out the podcast. Dwayne, where can people find more about you, listen to the podcast, and find you on Twitter, Facebook, whatever the hell it may be?
Okay. So, you know, all my stories go on orlandosentinel.com.
Right.
You can usually, if you search on my name, which is spelled funny, it goes very well. Or here's a shortcut, orlandosentinel.com/TPR for Theme Park Rangers. All of our tourism stories go straight there. We are behind a paywall. It is not expensive. That's what I will say. Frequently, you can get many weeks for $1. I don't want to say what the deal is right now because it changes while your back is turned. I'm not really sure. But check it out, orlandosentinel.com. And find us at orlandosentinel.com/TPR/theme parks works as well. My Twitter is @themeparks, which just tells you that I am an early adapter to Twitter. So anything I write gets linked from the Twitter. Yeah, and if you go to /TPR on orlandosentinel.com, you do get all my stories, the Katie Rice stories, you know, our food writer, our outdoorsy guy, the theater writer, occasionally all end up in there. So that's a good stopping place. However, I encourage you to check out the homepage. Sometimes you have to scroll to find me on the homepage, but yeah, those are the best ways. I have an Instagram that's @dbevel, DBEVIL. And it's not newsy. You know, it's theme parky, but it's not newsy. That's what I would say. You know, and just so you know, I filter the crap out of photos. I don't care. It's what I do. So it's not very journalistic. There it is.
Hey, whatever works. Again, for people listening, this is Dwayne Bevel, OrlandoSentinel.com, tourism writer. And also check him out, again, Theme Park Rangers. You can get that on OrlandoSentinel.com or also on wherever you get your podcasts in general. Dwayne, thanks so much for the time. It's been informative. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can do this again down the road.
Okay, see, I did know some things. As promised, some things.